The UES Salvation moved through space like a silver needle against the black cloth of stars. Captain Juwon Kim stood tall on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the main screen as technicians prepared for the wormhole test. This was the moment they had trained for, the culmination of years of research and billions in funding. "All systems are ready, Captain," reported Navigator Donghae, his fingers dancing across the control panel. Juwon nodded. "Proceed with the test sequence." The massive ship hummed as energy built up in its experimental drive. Dr. Sunwoo Lee watched from his station, excitement and worry battling in his chest. This technology would change everything. Instant travel across vast distances of space, if it worked. "Wormhole forming in 3, 2, 1, announced the ship's eye. A swirling blue vortex appeared before the ship, beautiful and terrifying. Light bent around its edges in ways that hurt the eyes. "Reading stable," Dr. Lee confirmed. "We can proceed." Captain Kim took a deep breath. "Take us in, half thrust." The Salvation moved forward, the nose of the ship touching the edge of the strange phenomenon. Everything seemed normal until alarms suddenly blared across every deck. "Energy spike," shouted Engineer Hyjin. "The wormhole is destabilizing." Dr. Lee frantically worked his controls. "Something's wrong with the field harmonics. We need to abort." "Full reverse thrust," ordered Captain Kim, but it was too late. The wormhole's blue light turned an angry purple, then expanded rapidly, swallowing the entire ship in seconds. From outside, observers on nearby monitoring vessels saw only a flash of light, followed by scattered debris and silence. The Salvation and all 5,000 souls aboard had vanished. 6 months later, Admiral Tahoe Park stood at a podium before thousands of mourners. Behind him, a massive memorial wall displayed the names and faces of the lost crew. "We've lost our greatest achievement and our finest crew," he said, his voice catching. The Salvation represented the best of humanity, our courage, our vision, our determination to reach beyond what we know. In the crowd, families clutched photographs and personal items of the missing. Some still held hope, but most had accepted the official explanation: catastrophic drive failure. Nothing could have survived. Dr. Sunwoo Lee refused to join the memorial. Instead, he sat in his small lab, reviewing the sensor data for the 1,000th time. The government had taken his funding, his team, and his reputation, but they couldn't take his conviction. "The waveform signatures don't indicate destruction," he muttered to himself, tracing patterns on his screen. "They suggest displacement, somewhere our sensors can't reach." His former colleagues called him delusional, a sad old man unable to accept his failure, but Lee knew what he saw in the data. The Salvation hadn't been destroyed. It had gone somewhere. And if it had gone somewhere, it could return. He just needed to figure out where somewhere was. 3 years after the disappearance, humanity faced a new threat: the hegemony, a coalition of alien species that had previously kept their distance, began probing Earth's defenses. General Juwon sat in the war room, studying reports from the outer colonies. "Another attack on mining station Alpha 6. That's the 3rd this month." "They're testing us," said Colonel Sungmin. "Without the Salvation to deter them, they're growing bolder." The Salvation had been more than just a ship. It had been a symbol of human power and technological advancement. Its loss had emboldened enemies who had previously shown caution. "Increase patrols in the outer sectors," ordered General Juwon. "We can't show weakness." But weakness was exactly what Earth showed. Without their flagship, the defense forces struggled to maintain control. Colony after colony reported attacks, each more brazen than the last. Dr. Lee lived in a small apartment now, far from the gleaming research facilities he once commanded. His walls were covered with calculations and star charts. Most people thought he had lost his mind, but a few loyal former students still visited, bringing him data and news. "They're dismantling the wormhole project entirely," said Jihai, his former assistant. All funding is being diverted to conventional defense systems. Lee barely looked up from his work. Short-sighted fools. Our conventional weapons won't hold the hegemony back forever. Dr. Lee, it's been 5 years. Maybe it's time to what? Accept that I killed 5,000 people. That my life's work was a failure. He slammed his hand on the desk. The data doesn't lie. Jai. The salvation is out there somewhere. As years passed, the hegemony grew from annoyance to existential threat. Earth's colonies fell one by one, unable to stand against the technologically superior alien forces. Dr. Lee, now considered a scientific pariah, continued his work in obscurity, following the trail of strange energy readings that occasionally appeared at the edge of detection range. 20 years after the Salvation's disappearance, Lieutenant Minji Kang sat at her monitoring station on orbital defense platform Delta 9. Her job was to watch for hegemony ship movements, a tedious but vital task. When her screen showed unusual energy fluctuations, she assumed it was an equipment malfunction. Then the pattern caught her eye, something familiar from her training. She pulled up the historical archives, comparing the current readings with those from 20 years ago. The match was undeniable. "Sir," she called to her commanding officer, her heart racing. These readings, they matched the Salvation's wormhole signature from the archives. Commander Jae-hyun rushed to her station, disbelief written across his face. "That's impossible. Run a diagnostic on the sensors." "Already did, sir. These readings are real." As they watched, the energy fluctuations grew stronger. A point of light appeared at the coordinates, small at first, then expanding into a swirling blue vortex identical to the one that had swallowed the Salvation 2 decades earlier. "Alert Earth Command," ordered Jae-hyun, his voice barely a whisper. "And get me Dr. Sun-Woo Lee." The blue vortex stabilized, and from its depths emerged the unmistakable silhouette of a massive ship. Its hull gleamed as if brand new, despite the 20 years that had passed on Earth. As it cleared the wormhole completely, the communication channels suddenly burst with a voice no one had heard in 20 years. "This is Captain Juwon Kim of the UES Salvation, requesting permission to return to Earth space." The impossible had happened. Earth's lost supercarrier had returned. The blue light of the wormhole faded, leaving the Salvation adrift in unknown space. Warning alarms blared across all decks as systems failed one by one. Captain Juwon Kim gripped her command chair, watching her crew scramble to regain control of the damaged ship. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Drive systems offline. Navigation offline. Communications offline," reported First Officer Dae-hyun. "Life support functioning at minimal capacity." Captain Kim stood, surveying the bridge. "Casualties. Reports coming in from all decks. Minor injuries mostly, but engineering reports 3 dead from the initial surge." Kim closed her eyes briefly, honoring the first losses. Then her training took over. "Establish emergency protocols. I want damage control teams working around the clock. We need to know where we are and how to get home." In those first dark days, discipline was all that kept them alive. With the ship's systems failing and their location unknown, panic would have been easy. Captain Kim refused to allow it. She established strict routines, duty shifts, regular meetings, and daily ship-wide announcements. "We are the crew of the Salvation," she reminded them each morning, "and we will live up to our name." 3 months passed before Chief Engineer Hyun-Woo Choi managed to restore basic power throughout the ship. Stars were visible again through viewports, but none matched any known configurations. "We're completely off the star charts," explained Navigator Donghae. "Either we're in an unexplored region, or what?" pressed Captain Kim. "Or we're not in our galaxy anymore." The possibility hung heavy in the air. 5,000 people, possibly trapped forever in unknown space. But Captain Kim wouldn't accept defeat. "We keep moving forward," she ordered. "We find a way home." Their first encounter with alien technology came 6 months after their arrival. The Salvation detected a small station orbiting a dead planet. No life signs, no power, just a silent structure. It appears abandoned, reported Security Chief Minho. Scans show technology unlike anything we've seen before. Captain Kim assembled an exploration team. They returned with strange devices and materials that Engineer Choi studied with growing excitement. "This is incredible," he told the captain, holding up a small crystal component. "Their power systems are based on principles we've barely begun to understand." Similar discoveries followed. The region was littered with abandoned outposts and derelict ships, all containing technology far beyond Earth's capabilities. Engineer Choi and his team worked tirelessly, adapting the alien tech to the Salvation systems. The ship transformed bit by bit, its hull reinforced with strange alloys, its engines enhanced with crystal power cells, its weapons upgraded with technology that seemed almost magical to the human engineers. 1 year after their arrival, Engineer Choi made a disturbing discovery. "Captain, I've been analyzing our chronometers against astronomical observations," he said, his face troubled. "They don't match." "Explain," ordered Kim. "Time is passing differently for us than it should be. We're in some kind of temporal displacement field. For every day we experience, much more time is passing outside this region." The implications were staggering. Even if they found their way home, how many years would have passed on Earth? Communications Officer Juyun Ba spent months trying to boost their signals enough to reach Earth. When she finally succeeded, the results were not what anyone expected. "I'm receiving Earth broadcasts," she announced one day, her voice tight with excitement. News feeds, communications, everything. The bridge crew gathered around her station, eager for news from home. But as Jia sorted through the data, her excitement turned to confusion, then horror. "Captain, these broadcasts, they're dated. The most recent ones are from 2177. "That's impossible," whispered Dadian. "That would mean 20 years have passed," confirmed Joyeon. Her fingers flew across the console, pulling up more information. "And Earth is at war. The hegemony launched a full-scale invasion 2 years ago." The images told the story. Earth colonies burning, refugee ships fleeing, defense forces overwhelmed by superior numbers. "They're losing," Jayan said softly. Captain Kim stood silent, absorbing the terrible truth. 20 years gone. Friends and family who thought them dead. A homeworld under attack. Then her resolve hardened. "Engineer Choi," she said sharply, "is the wormhole drive operational?" "Yes, Captain. With the modifications we've made using the alien technology, it's more stable than before." Communications Officer Ba, download all the tactical data you can find. We need to know exactly what we're flying into. Her officers stared at her, understanding dawning on their faces. "We're going back," said Diane. Captain Kim nodded. "Plot a course for Earth. Prepare all weapons systems and shields, and alert medical to prepare for casualties. The hegemony vastly outnumbers Earth forces," warned Security Chief Minho. "Even with our upgrades, we'll be one ship against a fleet." "One very advanced ship," corrected Engineer Choi. "The technology we've integrated gives us capabilities beyond anything Earth, or the hegemony, has seen." Captain Kim moved to the center of the bridge. "All hands, this is the captain. In 1 hour, we will attempt to return to Earth space. Our home is under attack, and we have the means to help. Prepare for combat operations." Throughout the ship, the crew responded with a sense of purpose they hadn't felt in years. They were going home, not as lost survivors, but as saviors. The wormhole opened before them, a swirling gateway to Earth, and whatever awaited them there. "Wormhole stable," reported Engineer Choi. "Coordinates locked on Earth orbit." Captain Kim took a deep breath. "Take us in." The journey lasted seconds. When they emerged, the peaceful Earth they remembered was gone. Before them stretched a massive battle, dozens of hegemony warships hammering at Earth's orbital defenses. Explosions bloomed silently in the void as human ships fought and died. "My God, whispered someone on the bridge. Captain Kim's voice cut through the shock. All hands to battle stations. Shield generators to maximum. Charge all weapons systems. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, preparing the ship for war. On screens throughout the Salvation, they could see Earth's defenders noticing their arrival, confusion evident in their movements. "We're being hailed by both sides," Captain reported Jayan. "Earth Defense Command is demanding identification. Open a channel." Captain Kim stood straight, her uniform perfect despite the 3 years of hardship. "This is Captain Juwon Kim of the UES Salvation. We've returned from displacement, and we're here to defend Earth." There was silence, then a disbelieving voice. "The Salvation was destroyed 20 years ago. Identify yourself truthfully or—" "Check your visual scans," interrupted Kim, "and prepare to coordinate your defense efforts with us. We've brought some upgrades." As if to emphasize her point, a hegemony cruiser noticed them and turned to attack. Energy weapons flared against the Salvation's shields, shields that would have disintegrated under such an assault 3 years ago. Now they merely shimmered. "Target their propulsion and weapons systems," ordered Captain Kim. "Let's show them what the Salvation can do." The upgraded weapons of Earth's lost Supercarrier lashed out, cutting through the hegemony ship's defenses like paper. Around them, the battle momentarily paused as both sides witnessed the impossible, a ghost ship returning with the power to change the war. The massive hegemony flagship turned its weapons toward the newly appeared vessel. Admiral Gecko, Supreme Commander of the invasion force, stared at the image on his screen. The ship had appeared from nowhere, materializing in a flash of blue energy that rippled across space like water. Its design was unmistakably human, but unlike any current Earth vessel. "What is that?" he demanded of his sensor officer. "Unknown, Admiral. The energy signature doesn't match any known human technology. It's much more advanced." The battle, which had been going decidedly in the hegemony's favor, paused as all eyes turned to the mysterious ship. On the Earth Defense Station, General Wujin leaned forward in his chair, hope and suspicion warring in his mind. "Unidentified vessel, identify yourself immediately," he transmitted, his voice tense. The reply came instantly, clear and confident. "This is Captain Juwon Kim of the UES Salvation. We've returned, and we've brought some upgrades." Silence fell across the command center. Techs stopped working. Officers froze in place. Someone whispered, "Impossible." "The Salvation was destroyed 20 years ago," General Wujin replied. "All hands lost. Identify yourself truthfully, or we will open fire." Before Captain Kim could respond, 3 hegemony destroyers broke formation and moved toward the Salvation, weapons charging. The Earth defenders watched, expecting to see the mystery ship quickly overwhelmed. Instead, the Salvation's shields, unlike any shield technology Earth possessed, simply absorbed the enemy fire. The energy weapons that had been devastating Earth's fleet seemed to wash over the ship like water. "Phase shield holding at 95%, reported Daiho, the Salvation's tactical officer. "Should we return fire, Captain?" Captain Kim nodded calmly. "Target their weapon systems only. Let's show some restraint." What happened next astonished both the human defenders and the hegemony attackers. The Salvation fired what appeared to be torpedoes, but they moved in ways that defied normal physics, adjusting course mid-flight and passing directly through the enemy shields as if they weren't there. "Quantum torpedoes functioning perfectly," said Engineer Hyunwoo with undisguised pride. "The alien crystal matrix enhances the phase variance exactly as we calculated." One by one, the hegemony destroyers fell silent, their weapons disabled with surgical precision. No explosions, no destruction, just clean, efficient neutralization. From his command post in Earth's last secure bunker, Defense Minister Chunho Ryu watched the battle footage with narrowed eyes. "It could be a hegemony trick," he said to his advisors. "Some kind of false flag operation. The Salvation disappeared 20 years ago." "But sir," said his aide, "the ship just disabled 3 enemy destroyers." "A convenient display to gain our trust," Ryu countered. "We've seen hegemony deception before. They've used our own lost ships against us in the past." The debate continued until Captain Kim took an unexpected action. The Salvation began broadcasting on all frequencies, not just military channels, but civilian bands as well. What came through wasn't tactical data or demands, but personal messages. "This is Lieutenant Hanbin Park of the UES Salvation to my wife Yuna and daughter Sojin. I'm alive. We're all alive. I've missed 20 years of your lives, but I'm coming home. To my parents in Busan, this is Medical Officer Nari Wang. The rumors of my death were greatly exaggerated. I hope you still live in the blue house by the sea." Hundreds of messages, from crew members to the families who had mourned them for 2 decades. Each included personal details that no hegemony deception could have known. In orbit above Earth, Captain Kim transmitted her authentication codes, complex security algorithms that changed monthly during her command. They were 20 years out of date, but they were genuine. "It really is them," whispered General Wujin. "They've come back." As word spread, the human forces fought with renewed vigor. The Salvation moved through the battlefield like an avenging angel, its advanced weapons disabling hegemony ships without destroying them whenever possible. "We don't need to annihilate them," Captain Kim explained to her confused crew. "We just need to show them we can." The hegemony fleet, faced with technology they couldn't understand or counter, began to retreat. Not a full withdrawal, but a strategic regrouping. For the first time in 2 years, Earth had won a decisive battle. In the aftermath, Dr. Sunwoo Lee was brought aboard the Salvation. At 82, he moved slowly, his back bent with age and hard living. But his eyes were sharp as ever as he stepped onto the bridge of the ship he had helped create. Captain Kim, looking barely 3 years older than when the ship had vanished, stood to greet him. The contrast between them was stark. She in her prime, he at the end of his life. "Dr. Lee," she said formally, then broke into a warm smile. "You look exactly as I expected you would." The old scientist stared at her, then at the bridge crew, all of them young, all of them ghosts from his past. "And you look exactly as I remember," he said, his voice breaking slightly. Captain Kim guided him to a seat. "You were right," she told him. "We weren't destroyed. We were thrown across both space and time." Dr. Lee nodded slowly. "I knew it. The waveform patterns. I knew destruction would look different." He looked around at the modified bridge, noting the strange new components integrated with the original systems. "But what happened to you out there?" "We found things," said Engineer Hyunwoo, stepping forward. "Technology beyond anything we imagined. Abandoned outposts, derelict ships, all containing advances decades or centuries beyond Earth's capabilities. And we adapted," added Captain Kim. "We learned, we salvaged, we improved. While Earth fought a losing war, we were preparing to turn the tide." Dr. Lee's eyes filled with tears. 20 years I waited. 20 years of being called mad, of being ridiculed and forgotten. And now you return, just when we needed you most." Captain Kim placed her hand on the old man's shoulder. "We need your help, Doctor. The technology we've brought back needs to be integrated with Earth's remaining defenses. The hegemony will return with greater numbers." Dr. Lee straightened his back, purpose returning to his tired frame. "Show me everything. We have work to do." As the Salvation orbited Earth, its return spread hope across the battered planet. The ship that had vanished in humanity's brightest moment had returned in its darkest hour, and it had brought the means to fight back. The underground bunker held the last remnants of Earth's government. 20 people sat around a large table, their faces tired from years of fighting a losing war. Armed guards stood at the doors. Screens on the walls showed the ongoing space battles. Captain Juwon Kim stood before them, looking strangely young compared to these aged leaders. Behind her, Dr. Sunwoo Lee sat quietly, his old hands folded on the table. "Thank you for meeting with us," began Captain Kim. "What I'm about to share will change everything you believe about human history." Defense Minister Junho Ryu leaned forward. "Captain, we appreciate the Salvation's return and its advanced technology. But we have a war to fight. We need practical solutions, not history lessons." "This is practical," Kim insisted. She nodded to her communications officer, who activated a holographic display in the center of the table. Star maps appeared, showing systems and planets that no one recognized. "During our displacement, we discovered abandoned outposts across several galaxies. They contained data archives, historical records spanning thousands of years." The hologram changed to show strange artifacts, buildings, and technology. "These ruins were built by humans," Kim said simply. A murmur ran through the room. General Do Yun-yun, commander of Earth's ground forces, scoffed loudly. "Captain, with all due respect, this sounds like science fiction. Humans evolved on Earth. That's established fact." Dr. Lee spoke up, his voice thin but clear. "So was the impossibility of wormhole travel. Once. Yet here we are." He tapped his tablet, and new images appeared. Fragments of technology found in archaeological digs on Earth alongside identical designs from the Salvation's alien database. "These matches are not coincidental," Lee continued. "We've found similar correspondences in over 300 Earth artifacts previously classified as of unknown origin." Captain Kim stepped forward again. "Humanity didn't evolve on Earth. We were once a galactic power that spanned thousands of worlds. After a devastating war, our ancestors were defeated and our history erased. Earth was essentially a reservation, the last remnant of a once great civilization." The room erupted in angry denials and shocked questions. President Yona raised her hand for silence. "Captain, these claims are extraordinary. What evidence do you have beyond these similarities?" "DNA records," replied Kim. She displayed genetic sequences. "These show human presence on planets thousands of light years away, dating back over 50,000 years. And this," she switched to a recording, "is the most telling evidence." On the screen appeared a hegemony commander, captured during an early battle with the Salvation. The alien's many-eyed face filled the display. "You should have remained forgotten," the alien said in its strange, clicking language, translated by the ship's computers. "The galaxy still bears the scars of human dominion. We will not permit your return." The room fell silent. "The hegemony knows our true history," Kim explained. "They've been monitoring us for centuries, ensuring we never rediscover our heritage. Our wormhole experiment triggered their invasion plans. They fear our potential." President Hyona studied Kim's face, searching for any sign of deception. "If what you're saying is true, why haven't we found this evidence before?" "You have," said Dr. Lee. "But without context, it was misinterpreted or classified as anomalous. The truth was literally hiding in plain sight." Admiral Bake, head of the Space Forces, looked skeptical. "Even if this is true, how does it help us now? The hegemony fleet will return within days with reinforcements. Knowing we were once space travelers won't save us." "That's where you're wrong," said Captain Kim. "Our ancestors left something behind." She moved to a different display showing a map of Antarctica. "The Salvation sensors detected a massive energy source here, deep beneath the ice. According to the records we found, it's a planetary defense system, dormant for thousands of years. We've had research stations in Antarctica for over a century," objected General Yun. "Nobody's found any ancient technology." "Nobody knew where to look," replied Kim, "or how to activate it if they found it. We do." The council debated for hours. Some believed Kim's story. Others thought it was a desperate fantasy. In the end, President Iona made the decision. "Prepare an expedition. If there's even a chance this defense system exists, we need it." 2 days later, Captain Kim led a team to Antarctica. They flew through bitter winds in a small transport ship, guided by the Salvation's scans from orbit. With them came Dr. Lee, moving slowly in his cold weather gear, but refusing to be left behind. "Are you sure about this location?" asked Minjin, their pilot, as they landed on a featureless ice field. "Within 10 meters, confirmed Kim, checking her equipment. The entrance should be directly below us." They used cutting tools to melt through 20 meters of ice before hitting something solid. It wasn't rock. "Metal," said Engineer Hyunwoo, examining the material. "Unlike any alloy we use today." They found a circular panel with faded symbols that matched those in the alien archives. Captain Kim placed her hand on it and pressed a sequence. Nothing happened. "The system might be dead," suggested General Yoon, who had insisted on joining the expedition. After thousands of years, Dr. Lee stepped forward. The records indicated a genetic lock. "It needs human DNA of a specific type." He removed his glove and placed his bare hand on the freezing panel. "My family line is one of the oldest documented on Earth." The metal beneath his palm glowed suddenly. The ice around them rumbled as ancient machinery awakened. A doorway appeared in the metal surface, leading down into darkness. They descended into a vast chamber filled with technology beyond their understanding. At its center stood a control console, its surfaces lighting up as they approached. "This is it," breathed Captain Kim. "The planetary shield generator." Dr. Lee studied the controls, comparing them to records from the Salvation's database. "The interface is similar to designs we found. I believe I can activate it." As Lee worked, Captain Kim received an urgent message from orbit. "The hegemony fleet has returned. Over 300 ships. They're preparing to attack." General Yoon's face hardened. "We're out of time." "Almost there," murmured Lee. His fingers moved across the ancient controls with growing confidence. "This system doesn't just generate a shield. It's connected to weapon platforms buried around the planet." A deep humming filled the chamber. Energy surged through conduits that had lain dormant for millennia. Above them, through miles of ice, a beam of blue light shot into the sky. Across Earth, similar beams appeared from deserts, mountains, and oceans, places where humans had built their most ancient structures without knowing what lay beneath. In space, the hegemony fleet paused as a shimmering field began to form around the planet. Their sensors detected energy readings unlike anything they had encountered before. In the Antarctic chamber, screens came to life showing the shield forming. It was working. As the planetary shield flickered to life for the first time in millennia, Captain Kim turned to Dr. Lee. "This is just the beginning." The old scientist nodded, understanding. "We're reclaiming our heritage." "Not just reclaiming it," said Kim. "We're going to build something new. Something better than what came before." Above them, the hegemony vessels fired their weapons at Earth. The blast struck the shield and dissipated harmlessly. Humanity's last defense had become its first step toward a new future. The stars vanished as the hegemony fleet moved into position around Earth. Thousands of warships blocked the light, their weapons charged and ready. On their command ship, Supreme Commander Vazik of the hegemony stood tall, his 4 arms crossed over his armored chest. "The humans have activated ancient technology," he said to his officers. "But they are still learning how to use it. We must strike now, before they fully awaken their heritage." Across space, on the bridge of the Salvation, Captain Juwon Kim watched the enemy fleet gather. For 3 weeks, Earth had held out behind its planetary shield, but the shield's power was limited, and the hegemony knew it. "They're going to try to overwhelm us with numbers," observed First Officer Daeyeon. "Even with our upgrades, we can't fight them all." "We won't have to," replied Captain Kim. She turned to Chief Engineer Hyunwoo. "Is the modified wormhole drive ready?" Hyunwoo nodded. "Tested and operational. Based on the ancient schematics, we can now generate multiple tactical wormholes, smaller than before, but more precisely controlled." "Good." Kim took her command chair. "All hands, battle stations. This is what we've prepared for." The crew moved with quiet efficiency. They had fought smaller battles over the past weeks, testing their new capabilities. But this would be different. This would be the final stand. From his battle station in Antarctica, Dr. Lee watched the hegemony fleet on his monitors. Despite his age, he had refused to leave the ancient facility. Beside him, young officers trained to use the recovered technology worked at control panels that seemed to respond to human touch in ways that defied explanation. "The shield won't hold against their combined firepower," warned Officer Suman Park. "Not for long." "It doesn't need to," replied Dr. Lee. "It just needs to hold until the Salvation executes its plan." In orbit, the hegemony fleet began its attack. Thousands of energy beams struck Earth's shield simultaneously. The protective barrier shimmered but held. "All ships report ready," said First Officer Dayen. "Earth's remaining fleet is in position." Captain Kim nodded. "Activate the modified wormhole drive." A small blue portal opened before the Salvation, not large enough for the ship to enter, but perfect for what came next. The Salvation fired a spread of quantum torpedoes through the wormhole. They emerged behind the hegemony fleet, striking ships that had no warning and no defenses raised. Before the enemy could respond, the wormhole closed and another opened, this time above the fleet. More torpedoes, more destruction. Then another wormhole and another. The Salvation itself remained motionless, safely behind Earth's shield, while its weapons appeared everywhere across the battlefield. "They can't track us," said Tactical Officer Minsu with satisfaction. "They don't know where the next attack will come from." On his flagship, Supreme Commander Vazek raged as his carefully arranged formation fell into chaos. "Find the source of those wormholes. Destroy that ship." But the Salvation was untouchable, protected by both Earth's ancient shield and its own advanced defenses. Meanwhile, Earth's remaining fleet, now equipped with recovered technology, moved to attack. Ships that had been outmatched for years now fought with new weapons and new hope. From Antarctica, Suman Park coordinated the ground-based weapon platforms. Her hands moved across the controls with growing confidence. "It's strange," she said to Dr. Lee. "These systems should feel alien, but they don't. It's like they were made for us." "They were," replied Lee. "They've been waiting for us to remember who we are." The tide of battle turned as hegemony ships, attacked from all sides and unable to predict where the next wormhole would open, began to retreat. Their perfect formation broke apart. Ship after ship fell silent or fled. On the Salvation's bridge, Communications Officer Joyen reported, "Captain, we're receiving a direct transmission from the hegemony command ship. Their Supreme Commander wants to speak with you." Captain Kim straightened her uniform. On screen, the alien leader appeared, his scaled face twisted with rage, and perhaps a touch of fear. "You were to remain ignorant of your past," he hissed. "The galaxy has not forgotten the tyranny of the human empire." Captain Kim met his gaze calmly. "We are not our ancestors," she replied. "But neither will we be your victims. This war ends today, with recognition of Earth's sovereignty and our right to exist among the stars." "You know nothing of what you once were," warned Vazek, "of the atrocities committed in humanity's name." "Then enlighten us," suggested Kim. "Not as enemies, but as equals. Help us learn from the past so we don't repeat it." For a long moment, Vazek was silent. Then, slowly, he nodded. Perhaps there is wisdom in that. The old humans would never have suggested such a thing. 3 days later, representatives from Earth and the hegemony gathered aboard the Salvation. The peace treaty they signed was simple. Earth would remain sovereign, free to develop without interference. In return, humanity would re-enter galactic society, not as conquerors, but as partners. As the official ceremony ended, celebrations began across Earth. For the first time in years, people looked up at the night sky not with fear, but with wonder and hope. On the Salvation's observation deck, Captain Kim and Dr. Lee stood together, watching the stars. "What now?" asked Lee, his old eyes bright with possibilities he had once thought he would never live to see. Kim smiled. "Now we reclaim our heritage, but forge our own path. The stars await, and this time we return in peace, unless provoked. Below them, Earth turned slowly, its ancient shield now dormant but ready. The Salvation would soon lead a new fleet, not to conquer, but to explore and reconnect with humanity's forgotten past. "I won't live to see it all," said Dr. Lee quietly. "But I've seen enough. I've seen the beginning." Captain Kim placed her hand on his shoulder. "You made it possible. You never gave up on us. And you proved me right." The old scientist smiled. 20 years of being called mad, and in the end, I was the only sane one. As they watched, a shooting star traced its path across Earth's sky. Not a weapon or a warship, but simply the universe reminding them of its beauty and mystery. The Salvation would lead the way, not as a weapon of war, but as a symbol of humanity's resilience and rebirth among the stars. And this time, humanity would do better. This time, they would remember both the glory and the cost of power.